Hey everybody, it's me again, veteran with PTSD Travels, and I am traveling home. I was just listening to one of my videos, trying to understand where I'd left off and what I was doing. And what I've realized is I use the word "whatnot" a lot. It's alright. It is what it is. We all find these words that we fixate on, and I guess currently that's one of mine. It is what it is. So, I think I touched on this last time. I didn't listen to the whole thing, so I'm in my new car, and I'm driving home. It's been a good trip. It's been eye-opening. It's been really nice to do a trip in the country. I would have rathered my car not break down on the way home a couple weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago. No. Anyways, week and a half ago, whatever. But it doesn't matter what happened. It just mattered that I had something else to do. I didn't touch on this part in the last one. Excuse me. I have, I know I touched on it in one video, being visited by a medium and hearing from Michelle. I was visited by another one. So, not in my sleep or anything like that. I met somebody in the hotel, and we were chatting through an innocent comment that I made that, my wife had passed away 15 months ago. This woman goes, "That's what I see," and I was like, It was something else. I haven't shared this with everybody, so I'm gonna gloss over most of it. But I know that there are a lot of skeptics in the world. There are a lot of people that just don't believe, and it is what it is. I'm not here to try to make anybody understand or try to figure out the metaphysical. However, I am very open to it. I'm a skeptic, and I'm skeptical of people, but I'm open to the theory that we're not alone in this world. Whether it be higher power, whether it be God, whether it be angels or just ghosts and spirits, aliens, I have no idea. No idea whatsoever. I'm very open-minded. So this woman chatted with me, and then she actually wrote out a piece of paper. She sat down with a video, wrote down, had a blank piece of paper and a pen in her hand, had never really met me, didn't know Michelle at all, right? Didn't know my wife's name, didn't know who I was or any of the circumstances behind anything. And the words that she said to me were very, they were resounding. One thing that happened is on the top of the paper, just like if it was Christmas or my birthday or something like that, it was at the top of the paper there was to Steve, love Michelle, and it was actually in Michelle's handwriting, and there was even that little heart that she always did over the eye. That was huge. There was another note that was passed on afterwards that was also Michelle's handwriting with her initial and an XOXO like she used to do, for me, the kids, and little, notes for in lunches or just little notes that, you'd leave for someone you love. So that was a pretty monumental time. So the car broke down. I believe it was for a reason. Me making the decision to buy a new car here in Ontario and then drive it home then caused more delays, waiting for paperwork to show up, and then more things were just naturally happening. If you're open to seeing the world, you'll recognize that, that there are things that you need to work on, right? And I mean, I'm working on myself with my PTSD, for instance, with my grief piece, for instance, working on a bunch of different things internally on me. And so I am open to the idea that I know I need a lot of work, and seeing that, this might be a sign that I've got more stuff to do here was pretty huge. And yeah, so I did a lot more things. Didn't see a lot more people, just the family that I had come up to see originally. And it was really good to be here with them. I was also able to do some internal work. I tried not to internalize a lot. That's one of the things that I've been working on. The internal workings that I was doing, I did a lot in the room or in my hammock that I have set up in the room. I just working on me as I was driving. I even had one relapse night. I don't drink anymore. And I had a night that I opened up a bottle of booze and I drank. Not a finest moment. I did have a really good realization the next day, which was good. It's a realization that I've needed to come to, because every few months I'll overindulge in alcohol and not really understand why, because over the past few months not drinking at all, and then one day I'm like, well, I'm going to do this, and it's not even a conscious decision. It just sort of happens. I believe and I know that the work that I have to do internally, inside me, and especially with the PTSD, the grief as well. I mean, there's obviously a PTSD carryover to the grief piece that I have, with Michelle. There's still a lot more there, and I've dealt with a large portion of it, or I'm trying to deal with a large portion of it, but I keep saying the word "but." At least I'm recognizing it now. So working on these pieces is really important, and I'm trying. So recognizing that is important. What I realized is that I am grieving the loss of my, physically being able to work. I'm grieving the inability to sometimes be the person that I used to be. I'm grieving, the loss of my mother. She's still here, but with severe Alzheimer's, and she's now in a home. There's a lot of grief there. Then there was the loss of my late wife, and that happened like in our cottage on our bed. So there's a lot of heavy pieces there that I have had to cope with over a short period of time. So I'm working on those things, and I am learning to cope with them. And in that coping, I have done a lot of processing and crying. And sometimes it's crying because of sadness. Sometimes it's crying because I'm aware that I'm moving on. Not that I'm ever going to forget Michelle, but I'm moving on to a next part of my life. I'm never going to forget the work that I did or the country that I served for a number of years. But that's another piece that I have to move on from. So there's a lot of different things that I'm sorting through, and I'm also losing not that I'm losing. I have inside here feel that I'm not the hero anymore, which for a lot of guys that's kind of their persona, and I felt that way for a long time. I was always there for everybody and stuff like that. I think I touched on this before as well. Trying very hard not to say whatnot again. We'll see. So with all of this work and all of this stuff, I am doing the grieving, I'm doing the crying, I'm doing the processing. I don't know if I'm doing it, if I'm feeling the feels enough, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm touching on it enough or recalling things enough to feel what I need to feel to process. Therefore, every few months I've found that I have overindulged in alcohol, and then I have like a good 30 minutes to an hour cry. That is not healthy. That is not healthy. And it doesn't matter, like, I realized that post PTSD diagnosis, it was really bad, and I didn't realize what I'm doing. I'm sure Michelle did. I'm sure other people saw what I was doing. I was using alcohol to cope with having PTSD and not knowing that I had PTSD or why I was doing what I was doing. I just knew that I was drinking a lot more. I won't get into how much I was. The past, like since Michelle passed, my alcohol consumption drastically reduced. Drastically, because I knew that it was a really bad place for me to be. Even without the PTSD, it would have been a bad place to be. So I gave my bottle away to a friend and said, "Hold on to this until I'm ready to get it back." And it was quite a while. And then ever since then, I've only, again, typical day is 0 drinks, and then in the military, there was always the question on your questionnaire for your health. At the doctor would say, they would ask you, how many drinks do you have a week? And every single person I know in the military lied through their teeth. And they were always like, oh, I have like 5 a week. And it was much more than that, because in a typical sitting at just going to the mess, you'd have like 5 drinks. And you would do that multiple times. Or you'd be at someone's house or whatever, in the barbecues. You were drinking all the time. And that was the societal norm. It's a societal norm that I had been backing away from, and then my consumption went way up for reasons that I just talked about. However, now that I don't drink anymore, like I'm actually that questionnaire, if I answer now, 5 would be an accurate answer. So that is my typical, consumption in a week is not very much. I enjoy a glass of wine with dinner, or I'll enjoy a beer with supper, or I'll have whatever. If I'm having tacos, I'm going to want a beer, right? Specifically, I probably want a Corona. Like, there's a few different things there that I want for specific meals, and that's when I'll enjoy it. Not all the time. Not anything crazy. Well, not anything crazy until apparently I feel I need to cry. Therefore, what I need to do and what I am going to work on is, if I find myself not with a meal wanting a drink, that has to raise questions to me. There has to be an alarm that goes off and says, why do you want that? And I'm going to need to start doing some deep reflection if that feeling arises, to say, no, dude, you actually just want a good cry. So you need to think about the things that are actually hurting right now. Or maybe you're happy and you need to have a good cry. Like, you're allowed to be happy again. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to work on now. That was one of the big things that, it was a huge thing, actually, the realization to come to while I was here. And I know I said I had other realizations about alcohol in the past, and I can't do it and stuff like that. And I don't think that it's evil to have a drink or to have some once in a while. Definitely not a good, healthy way to cope and try to actually open up and have your feelings felt. So yeah, it's a big one for all of us. It's not just it's anybody that has had things happen. PTSD is a big one that you'll have. PTSD has a lot of you have problems with regulating emotions. That is one of the problems with PTSD. It also goes with, I don't bring this up often for a good reason, but it goes hand in hand with ADHD as well, if you have that. Alcohol and ADHD, you're chasing something, right? I might potentially have ADHD. That's not the concern. The concern is the PTSD with the alcohol consumption. Turns out a lot of people have ADHD in the military. They don't like to admit it, because then when we admit things in the military, you get either a career delay or you get a mental health problem, and then you're stigmatized. There's a lot there, and a lot of people are going to say, oh, that's getting better in the military. Well, not when I left, and that was only just under 2 years ago. Guy that I worked with was actively told by the psychologist when he went in to get mental help. The doctor told him, if I look at this and find something, your career's over. How do you tell that to somebody who knows they need help, who knows that they're in a bind? Maybe they just need a little bit of help to get through this part of life so that they can learn these healthy coping mechanisms, and then that part is then gone because it's healthily managed and you've just denied it to them. So yeah, anybody that tells me I'm triggering myself. Definitely triggering myself. So I'll stop on that line of route of chatting after I say the military is saying that they don't stigmatize or they're trying to do better. They have a very, very, very far way to go. And that's from the leadership and the mental health and the health side of things. That's not even talking about your peers. I said what I said. If you don't agree, I don't care. Anyway, I'm on the drive home. It's going to be good to get home. My house is actively being renovated at the moment. There's a bunch of electrical work getting done, a bunch of plumbing work getting done, in order to make my house easier to drive away from for extended periods of time like this. I waited specifically for a very long period of time to leave, because I was ready to leave the house for a while. I was worried about the pipes freezing. Excuse me. And I wasn't necessarily able to walk or crawl under the house to drain all the pipes. So there's a crawl space under the house, under the cottage, and if I crawl under there, I'm not going indoors for a few days. It's just one of those things. So had plumbing work done, had electrical work done, and it'll be really good to go home and watch that bit get finished up and stuff like that. So I'm really happy to might not be going home right away. I'm at least driving to Nova Scotia. In fact, one of the reasons I have to go, like, right now, I only made this decision last night at like 8 o'clock that I was leaving today, is I realized that the temporary permit that I have in the car was issued to me with the wrong date. And instead of arguing about it, I'm going with it. So my temporary permit expires, in a few days. So I need to be in Nova Scotia so I can register my new car. That's kind of what's going on. That's part of what it is. Lack of not being able to plan some of these things is definitely hard. In the past I would have noticed that right away, and I would have corrected it before I even left the dealership. That I would have said, fix that on the plate, because this is not the right date. Just things like that. I find that I have a lot more. I struggle a lot more with my long-term planning now, and I used to go away all the time. Used to be gone all the time. Used to fly, and we would have to do trip planning and stuff like that. And part of our task was making sure that we had spare parts and enough gear and enough stuff to help us in case we didn't have any technicians with us. Or when I was a technician, we would do the pre-planning for the longer, bigger trips, and you make sure that you have all of the things that you need. And it's that long-term planning that I'm still really struggling with. So that's another one I'm trying to work on. I do have some help. Everyone keeps recommending books to me. Books aren't going to work. But if anybody has any recommendations for ways to help me with memory or like the PTSD, and that's really what it is. It's since all of this stuff came to light. When I got the diagnosis and we started stripping back the layers of the onion, it really made everything more pronounced and raw. I had been struggling with long-term planning and stuff like that for a while, and I didn't know why. Just peeling back the onions, or the layers of the onion of PTSD, really exposed it. It made it so much worse. So that's something I'm working on, is my long-term planning. So it was really good and helpful for me to get this work done in the cottage, so that I have a little bit less long-term planning. If I want to go, it's a couple switches and a couple of valves open up, and then my lines are cleared and I'm good to go. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I'm working on it. I want to be able to go do things. I want to be able to leave the house, and I want to be able to go see people and experience things like this. Being open to just changing what I'm doing on a whim, as we used to do when we were younger. So that's really what's going on. And I realize that now I'm rambling and I'm not really stopping, so I'm probably just gonna end the video now. But it didn't really end anywhere. It didn't really start anywhere. It didn't really go anywhere. There was no beginning, no body, and no end. It was just a whole bunch of words and rambling. That's how it feels to me. I hope somebody ever, sometime, actually, you know what? Yeah, I do hope that somebody gets something out of this at some point. Most importantly, I'm really glad that I'm talking about my issues now, instead of holding them all inside. We're really not good as men in dealing with our issues, because we don't know how to. We don't talk as much. I don't know about other guys. I don't have a lot of friends, and I'm not going to go touch on the friend thing again like I did last time in a previous video. I'm just going to say, like, when you're in a couple. When I was in a couple, I tended to. I wasn't worried about friends outside of my immediate friendship with my wife. She was my best friend, and there's no, like, everybody knew it. There's a couple of really close friends that I had, like best friends that I have besides her, but there's really not a whole lot there, right? So, and let's face it, even with your best friends, we don't typically talk a lot. me and my best friends, we're getting better at it. We're starting to talk about these things, which is really good for all of us. We don't do a lot of it though, right? So when it comes to issues like this, we're definitely the underdogs in mental health between men and women. I don't like doing comparisons. I don't like saying women do this and men do that, because I do think that for the most part, in a lot of ways, men and women are extremely equal. I can do anything, and a woman can do anything. It's just the way a woman can do anything. And I say that because I've instead of being a guy that's so lost in himself and what I magically provide to the world because I'm a guy, I've spent time with ladies, and I appreciate what they bring to the table that's different than what I bring to the table. It just works better that way when you can appreciate the people around you. So I do that's one thing that I'm trying to get better at, is become a better talker and listener. I've always been a good listener, I believe. I was always a good talker. Listen to me go. I can talk. It's the talking about the important things that's not always been the easiest. That's the key, right? I need to talk about my feelings, how life is, what it hurts at the time, or what brings me joy. All of these things you need to be able to talk about as a human, and it's definitely something that women have the upper hand on us for. So guys, if you're listening, not saying that women don't have PTSD, because you most certainly do. I know that sometimes, more often than men for sure, you are definitely better equipped to talk about how you feel than we are as dudes. Another thing to work on, another thing to think about. But yeah, I'm gonna let it end it there. Again, more rambling. Hope you enjoy it. I enjoy it, and yeah. Today's word of the day is home. I am home. Home should be a very safe place to be. It should be a lot of things. Home, as that word again, should. But anyways, we'll go with it. Home should be a bunch of things. It's not always. Here's to me exploring my home again, so that I learn to love it. So that I relearn to love it. I used to love this place. Used to love this country. Used to love everything about it. And I really want to start exploring and falling back in love with the people and the place. It doesn't have to be. Home doesn't have to be tied to a political view or anything like that. We should be able to, again, should be able to ignore some of those things, because home is home. I'd like to get back to that spot. I'm not going to ignore the bad things and never do anything about them. You've still got to stand up for things that are right. Now that I'm coming out of my shell, I would like to see myself start doing more of that. But yeah. Home. It's time to go home. And I'm happy that Nova Scotia is my home. Of the other provinces, it's definitely my favorite one. I know a lot of people don't feel that way about it, and I don't. That's, again, I don't care. I definitely enjoy Nova Scotia more than other provinces. Unlike a lot of people, I'm not going to get into, doing a list of, oh, these are my favorite provinces and why, or these are the provinces I hate. I don't want to be in the comparison mode. I have a favorite place. It's my home. Your home should be your favorite place. If it's not, you have some rethinking to do. You have some reevaluating to do. Home is, it should be where you hang your hat, right? It should be where your heart is. And that's where mine is. So I'm going home. Love you all. And I hope you all have a great day. Oh, and hope you enjoy the eclipse. I am driving home during the eclipse. I'm sure that some people may be concerned. I am not. I'm driving away. I'm driving east. So by the time the eclipse happens, it will be slightly behind me. So I won't even be able to see it in the rearview mirror because it's going to be above my head, but slightly behind me because I'm traveling that way. So thank you for your concern, because I've actually had multiple people reach out to me and say, should you be traveling today on the eclipse? Be very careful. And yeah, I'll be all right. Thank you for your concern. I do appreciate it. And again, yeah. Have a great day. Love ya. Bye.